You are listening to the Life Coach Business Podcast with Amanda Karlstad, episode number 203. Welcome to the Life Coach Business Podcast, a show for coaches who are ready to up-level their business and take their impact, leadership, and results to a whole new level. If you're ready to start taking powerful action and become the leader your business needs in order to grow and thrive, this show is for you. I'm your host, Amanda Karlstad, certified life and business coach and entrepreneurial leadership expert. Now let's get down to business. Hello and welcome everyone. So glad to have you with me today. I hope you're all doing amazing. I'm doing great. I'm really excited to have you here. Today I am bringing you part 3 of the series of The Art of Thinking Big that I've been bringing to you over these last couple of weeks. And I am really excited to bring you today's conversation. I hope you've been enjoying this series. And even more importantly, I hope that it's helping to open you up to even more ideas and more visions for you and for your business. And I hope that you've been getting some major ahas as you've been listening to this series. So this is something that I've been thinking about a lot for my clients. And as I look at the momentum that they're creating in their businesses, having set their biggest goals yet, being able to think bigger than they ever have before. And what's so interesting is that I can really see the difference that this has made for them, no matter if this is a client that I've been working with for over a year or even just a few months. There's something very special that happens when you're challenged and when you start to think bigger and when you're in an environment where that is the norm. And it's so interesting. I can almost see immediately when my clients make this shift, when they allow themselves to start thinking bigger and they start to then step into that next level version of themselves. It's just really, really an exciting thing to witness. And so when it becomes a new norm, and now for so many of them, as they are settling into these new identities, into this identity that for many of them will allow them to create so much money in their businesses and make such a huge impact, it really is an amazing thing. And so I'm just so proud of them. And one of my goals this year is to help so many more do this, to help so many more clients as possible in my high-level mastermind to really scale their businesses, to go from that 6-figure level and scale their businesses to 7 figures. So if this is something that you're serious about, if you've reached that 6-figure level in your business, or if you're trending towards that level, I want to invite you to apply for my high-level mastermind. This is the program where we literally take everything to the next level. You can go to amandakarlstadcoaching.com. We'll also link up the application in the show notes. And again, one of my personal goals is to be able to coach and mentor and take as many coaches as possible to that next level, whatever that means for them. And I would love for you to join us. We are doing some really big things in this container. Every one of my clients is creating massive momentum and massive revenue. And I've really created and put the intention behind this container to be the most elite mastermind for coaches who are ready to scale and who want to become examples of what is possible. So if that's you, I highly encourage you to go to amandakarlstadcoaching.com. We'll also link that up in the show notes. Go there and fill out the quick application, set up a call, and come join us. All right. I know I mentioned this in last week's episode, but I truly believe that the art of thinking big, what we're talking about here in this series, is by far one of the most important skills that I believe you can learn and also practice in your business. And it's truly been one of the most important skills and practices that has helped me to grow my business and create the business and the life that I have today. So my goal with this series is that it gives you some tangible tools and some tangible ways that you can start to think even bigger in your own business and in your own life. And I know that with consistent practice and with consistent application, that this can and will help you take things to the next level. So today, in part 3 of the series, I want to talk about the art of thinking big as it relates to becoming and creating extraordinary results. Over the last several weeks, as I've been reflecting on this and I've been witnessing so many client wins and reflecting on my own growth as well as the trajectory of my own business, I wanted to really round out this series with a conversation on the art of thinking big and how it helps you become extraordinary. And I say extraordinary because that truly is a word that I'm about. It's really what I'm about helping my clients become, is to become extraordinary examples of what is possible. And when I look at my work and the work that I do with clients, and I think about the larger impact of my work, for me, this is what it's really about. It's about becoming extraordinary. It's about stepping into that true potential. It's about playing a big game and showing the world what's possible. And when I think about this, the truth is that this only can happen when we think big. This only can happen when we stretch ourselves, when we go beyond our self-imposed limits, when we allow ourselves to go to extraordinary. And I have to be honest, this is the work that I most love to do. And frankly, it's one of my superpowers. And so we've talked in this series about the importance of thinking big. We've talked about some of the reasons that you're likely not thinking big. And I gave you some ways to start thinking big. But today I also want to talk about why thinking big is also a requirement to becoming extraordinary. Now, I know for all of you listening, I know that every one of you has big goals. I know that you all have extraordinary goals. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you didn't. And so I know that for all of you, you're likely familiar with the term impossible goals in your business, right? And so for my clients, their impossible goals, for many of them, are to have $1 million plus businesses. So having an impossible goal is what we do. And having an impossible goal and having a vision for yourself, for your business, that's extraordinary. The truth is that's really not the norm. For most people, they create their goals based solely on what they've done in the past. They look to the past for evidence and for what is possible for them in the present. But here's the difference. This is not what I do. This is not what I teach my clients to do. That's not what I focus on in my own coaching containers. Instead, I bring a focus into becoming extraordinary, into becoming $1 million plus business owners, on becoming examples of what is possible. So my philosophy is that you have an extraordinary goal, and that some of the most important work that you can do is to build your belief towards your ability to believe that you can accomplish your extraordinary goals. And this is the mental work. This is the art of learning to think big. And this is what I really want to encourage all of you to do. Now, what will happen very likely is that when you go out and when you attempt to start believing and thinking about your extraordinary goals, your brain is going to almost immediately tell you it's impossible. Your brain is going to serve up all types of evidence to you as to why it's not possible. And so I want you to be prepared for that. And I also think it's important that you all acknowledge that. And at the same time, I think it's also really important that you can tell and that you allow yourself to tell your brain to stop it. So I want to encourage you, when you're in this place, to put those thoughts aside and to intentionally start to identify yourself from the future, from that goal, from that extraordinary goal as having already been achieved, that it is already done. And what will happen when you do this is you start to generate a vision. You will start to generate excitement, the emotion of that extraordinary vision, and it will stretch you beyond your current capacity. It will allow you to start moving into the space of taking that impossible goal and moving it into the realm of possibility. It's going to expand you, and it will require that you think bigger. And the truth is that the more we ask our brain to think bigger, the more we ask our brain to go beyond our current capacity, what happens is we start to bridge the gap between our current reality and the extraordinary goal that we have. And there's something really important that happens in this process. In the process of thinking big and bridging the gap to your extraordinary goals, there is something that very often happens. And what happens is when you start to stretch yourself and when you start to ask yourself and require yourself to think bigger and to start believing in your impossible goal, your brain is going to be on high alert. It's going to be looking for evidence. It's going to look for evidence and bring back to you what you most truly believe. And I have to tell you, in most cases, it's actually going to be evidence that's contrary to your extraordinary goal. It's going to be contrary to where you want to go. And what happens so often is that if this evidence doesn't support that impossible goal or the achievement of that impossible goal, I see this happen all too often where coaches start to downplay that original goal. They start to downplay the vision of where they want to go because the evidence that they're seeing in most cases is actually contrary to that impossible vision. So there's something very important that I want you all to understand here. And that is when you go out and when you set out to become extraordinary, when you go out and you set out on an impossible goal, you must also be willing to experience the results and to experience the evidence that in most cases won't actually support you in achieving these goals. And this is where I see so many of you give up on becoming extraordinary. And it's because there's typically some time, especially when you start out in the journey, that you won't find evidence that it's fully possible. And in fact, you're going to find evidence that's actually opposite to that. And I watch this happen over and over again. And what I want to offer to you is that if you experience this, if you find yourself in a place where you're wanting to believe in extraordinary, then you must also understand that you might not experience evidence of that right away. And truthfully, you'll probably experience a ton of setbacks and a ton of challenges. And if those setbacks and if those challenges are perceived as failure, and if that becomes the predominant way of thinking, the unfortunate truth is that that will only become stronger. And your brain will start to find more and more evidence of this. And for some, this might even mean giving up on that extraordinary goal, giving up on that impossible goal. So this is a really important distinction to make. You must be willing to continue to move forward, to continue to make steps towards becoming extraordinary, even if all the evidence is to the contrary. But know that becoming extraordinary, my friends, it requires thinking big. It requires asking yourself to live from your extraordinary goal, from the place of it already being done, to be able to live from that extraordinary place, to be able to think big on purpose. So I want to really encourage you all to go and try it. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Have a beautiful week. I'll talk to you all again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Life Coach Business Podcast. If you want to learn more about how to build, grow, and scale your business and accelerate your results, visit amandakarlstadcoaching.com.